DynamoDB Write Capacity Units, WCU. In one of the previous episodes, we discussed the RCU, the DynamoDB Read Capacity Units. We said that an RCU is about a read per second, and then we discussed why is it only about a read per second? Why isn't it always just one read per second? And we said that the number of RCU, the number of actual reads per second that we need depends on the size of the row that we are reading and also on the type of the transaction that we use, whether it's a strongly consistent read, an eventual consistent read, or a transactional read. The same applies for WCU. WCU is also dependent on the item size and similar conditions. When we write data to our DynamoDB, then this is a write request. And just like we needed a threshold of 4 kilobytes, if it's less than 4 kilobytes per row, then we needed one read capacity units. Then for write, the threshold is lower. It's on 1 kilobyte. So in WCU write capacity units, if we have items which are up to 1 kilobytes in size, then a single write capacity unit can write one write request per second. And if we have items which are larger than 1 kilobyte, then we would need additional write capacity units, and one write capacity unit won't be enough to write such items. And the same goes for transactional write requests. If our item that we are trying to write to DynamoDB is more than 1 kilobyte, then one WCU won't be enough and we need additional, because as we said, the transactional write or read reminds of two-phase commits, and two-phase commits means one write or read for prepare and then another one for the actual commit. So we need more than one write capacity units, even though we are writing only one item. And even though this one item is up to 1 kilobyte in size. So it's a multiplication of the amounts of kilobytes, because for 1 kilobyte of writing to DynamoDB, we need one WCU. If we have 3 kilobytes, then multiply this by 3 and we get to 3 WCUs. The replications in the local data center, the local region, is done in place, meaning when we get back the result, then we know it was replicated locally. But the replication for the global tables, we do not know, and it's eventually consistent. When we said that for transactional read or writes for DynamoDB, then we needed more than one WCU, more than one RCU. This is because a transaction in DynamoDB, which it supports transactions. It supports both strong consistence, eventual consistence, and transaction-based writes and reads. In a transactional read or write is different from a standard read or write in that we take a few operations, read, write, check something, read, write, we put them all inside a transaction, and then this single transaction would either fully be executed or not. So to recap about RCU and WCU, we need one RCU for an individual consistent read of an item up to 4 kilobytes in size. If we have item up to 8 kilobytes, then we need 2 RCUs for eventual consistent. Any transactional read request, even if the item is up to 4 kilobytes, will require 2 RCUs to perform this single read request from DynamoDB, because it's a transactional one. So we need one for the prepare and another one for the actual read. The same goes for WCUs, but in WCUs, the threshold is not 4 kilobytes. The threshold goes down to 1 kilobyte. And now, for a standard write request with WCU, we need 4 items up to 1 kilobytes. We need 1 WCU. But if the item is 3 kilobytes, then we need 3 RCU. And if the item is transactions and 3 kilobytes, then we need 6 RCU. Because for transaction we need 2, and for 3 kilobytes, 3. So in total it's 6 WCUs.